Taye sneaked into the kitchen and secretly added too much salt to the stew. When they all sat down to eat, Femi took a bite and immediately made a face. "This stew is way too salty," he said, looking at Onuchukwu in surprise. Onuchukwu was shocked. "I don't understand," she said softly. "I tasted it before and it was fine." Morin, who was sitting quietly at the table, smiled but said nothing. Taye just shrugged, pretending to be concerned. "It's okay, Onuchukwu," Taye said, her voice dripping with fake kindness. "Maybe you were just distracted." Once upon a time, in the beautiful city of Abuja, two siblings named Femi and Ti shared a special bond. They had been through a lot together. When Femi was just 18 years old and Ti was only 11, their parents died, leaving them alone in the world. It was a sad and difficult time, but they knew they had to stick together to survive. Femi, being the older brother, took on a big responsibility. He knew that he had to take care of his little sister Ti. He became like a parent to her, making sure she had everything she needed. Femi worked very hard, taking on any job he could find. He cleaned offices, delivered newspapers, and even worked at a car wash. He did whatever it took to earn money and make sure Taye was safe and happy. As years went by, Femi finally found a stable job at a big company. This job paid well and allowed him to provide better for Taye. Femi was always a serious and responsible person, but losing their parent made him grow up even faster. He had to make important decisions and take care of things most 18-year-olds didn't have to worry about. But Femi didn't mind. He loved Taye more than anything in the world, and he was determined to take care of her no matter what. Taye, on the other hand, looked up to her big brother as if he were a superhero. She saw how hard he worked and how much he sacrificed just to make sure she was okay. Femi was not just her brother, he was her hero. He taught her how to be strong, to work hard, and to never give up no matter how tough life got. Taye was a smart and determined girl. As she grew older, she decided that she wanted to start her own business. She had learned so much from watching Femi work hard, and she wanted to make him proud. So, Taye opened a small shop in the city where she sold handmade jewelry and clothes. People loved her work, and soon her shop became very popular. Taye's business started to grow, and she was proud of what she had accomplished. She knew she wouldn't have been able to do it without Femi's support and guidance. Despite their different paths in life, Femi and Taye remained very close. They lived in the same house, a small but cozy home filled with memories of their parents. Every night, they would sit together and talk about their day. Sometimes, they would laugh about funny things that happened at work, and other times, they would share their worries and concerns. They loved each other deeply and couldn't imagine life without one another. However, even though Femi and Taye were so close, there were some things they didn't talk about. Femi was very protective of Taye. He always worried about her, especially when it came to the people she allowed into her life. Femi didn't trust anyone easily, especially men who showed interest in Taye. He was afraid that someone might hurt her or take advantage of her, so he kept a close eye on anyone who tried to get too close to his sister. One evening, as they were sitting together in the living room, Taye looked at Femi and said, "Femi, you know you don't have to worry about me so much. I'm a grown woman now, and I can take care of myself." Femi smiled at her but shook his head. Taye, you will always be my little sister. I just want to make sure you are safe and happy. I know, Femi, Taye said, reaching out to hold his hand. But you can't protect me from everything. I have to live my life too. Femi sighed. He knew Taye was right, but he couldn't help but worry. I just don't want to see you get hurt, he said softly. Taye smiled at her brother. And I don't want to see you alone forever. You deserve to be happy too, Femi. You have done so much for me, but you need to think about yourself sometimes. Femi looked at his sister and felt a warmth in his heart. He knew she meant well, but he couldn't shake the feeling that he needed to be there for her until she was completely settled. I will be fine, Taye, he said. Right now, I just want to focus on making sure you are okay. Taye nodded, but she didn't want to let the subject go. Femi, I want you to find someone who makes you happy. You deserve to have love in your life. Femi smiled again, but there was a hint of sadness in his eyes. Maybe one day, Taye, but right now, I'm happy taking care of you. Taye didn't push the matter any further, but she couldn't help but feel a little sad. She wanted Femi to be happy, but she also knew that deep down, she didn't want to lose him to someone else. The thought of another woman coming into their lives and taking Femi's attention away from her made her feel uneasy. She loved her brother and didn't want to share him with anyone. As the days went by, Taye noticed that Femi seemed more withdrawn than usual. He was still his caring, loving self, but there was something different about him. He spent more time at work and less time at home. Taye couldn't help but wonder if something was bothering him. One night, as they were having dinner, Taye decided to ask him about it. Femi, is everything okay? You have been so quiet lately. Femi looked up from his plate and forced a smile. I'm fine, Taye. Just a lot on my mind, that's all. Taye wasn't convinced. You know you can talk to me about anything, right? Femi nodded. I know, Taye, but it's nothing you need to worry about, I promise. Taye wanted to press further, but she didn't want to push him. She knew Femi well enough to know that he would talk when he was ready. But the worry lingered in her heart. She didn't want her brother to carry any burdens alone. The truth was, Femi had been thinking a lot about his future. He knew that Taye was growing up and becoming more independent. She had her business and was doing well for herself. Femi was proud of her, but he also felt a sense of emptiness. He had spent so many years taking care of Taye that he had never really thought about his own happiness. Now that Taye was doing well, Femi began to wonder if it was time for him to start thinking about his own life. But the thought of leaving Taye alone scared him. He had always been there for her, and he didn't want her to feel abandoned. Femi loved his sister more than anything, and he wasn't sure if he was ready to let go of the role he had played for so long. During Taye's university years, Taye made a new friend named Morin. Morin was lively and full of energy, and she quickly became Taye's best friend. They spent a lot of time together, and Morin often stayed over at Taye's house. Taye loved Morin's cheerful personality and admired her confidence, while Morin appreciated Taye's kindness and loyalty. They were always there for each other, helping one another through both good and bad times. Morin had a special place in her heart for Taye. She thought of her as family and felt lucky to have found such a great friend. They talked about everything, from their dreams and hopes to their worries and fears. Their friendship grew stronger with each passing day, and they shared many happy moments together. However, Morin had a secret that she had never shared with Taye. From the very first time she met Femi, Taye's older brother, Morin had felt a strong attraction towards him. There was something about Femi that captivated her: his calm and steady presence, his good looks, and the way he carried himself with responsibility. To Morin, Femi seemed like the perfect man. She admired how he took care of Taye and worked hard to provide for her. As time went on, Morin's feelings for Femi grew stronger. She couldn't help but think about him all the time. Whenever she was around Femi, her heart would race, and she would feel nervous and excited. But despite her strong feelings, Morin kept her emotions hidden. She didn't know how to tell Femi how she felt, and she was afraid of ruining her friendship with Taye. Morin tried to drop hints about her feelings for Femi. She would talk about how great Taye's brother was and how lucky Taye was to have him. She hoped that Femi would notice her admiration, but he seemed completely unaware. He always treated Morin with the same warmth and friendliness he showed to all of Taye's friends. Morin's heart sank each time she realized that Femi didn't seem to pick up on her hints. Taye, on the other hand, was very observant. She noticed the way Morin's eyes would light up whenever Femi was around, and how she would try to make herself look nice when she knew Femi was coming over. Taye thought it was sweet that Morin had a soft spot for her brother. She believed that Morin would be a great match for Femi. After all, Morin was kind, smart, and full of life qualities that Taye thought would make her a wonderful partner for her brother. One day, while they were sitting together in Taye's living room, Taye decided to bring up the topic with Morin. They were chatting about their plans for the weekend when Taye suddenly said, "Morin, I have noticed how much you seem to admire my brother. You always talk about how amazing he is." Morin looked a bit surprised but quickly smiled. "Oh, Taye, he really is a great guy. I just think he's really nice and responsible. I'm lucky to know him." Taye smiled back. "I think you two would make a great couple. You know, Femi is always so busy with work and making sure I'm okay. He deserves to be with someone who truly understands and appreciates him. And you are so wonderful, Morin. I can see you two being really happy together." Morin's heart skipped a beat. She felt a mix of hope and fear. "Do you really think so? I mean, I have always thought Femi was amazing, but I don't know if he feels the same way about me." Taye nodded encouragingly. "I think you should go for it. You never know unless you try. And if you ever need help or advice, I'm here for you." Morin felt a surge of confidence. "Thanks, Taye. I really appreciate your support. I will think about it." After the days went by, Taye tried to create opportunities for Morin and Femi to spend more time together. She invited Morin over for dinner and made sure that Femi was home to join them. She wanted to give Morin a chance to get closer to her brother and hopefully build a connection. One evening, Taye organized a small dinner party at their house. She invited a few of her friends, including Morin, and hoped that the relaxed atmosphere would help Morin and Femi get to know each other better. Taye cooked a delicious meal and set the table with care. When Femi came home from work, he greeted everyone warmly and took a seat at the dinner table. Morin was sitting across from him, and she tried her best to be charming and engaging. She talked about her recent projects and asked Femi about his work. Femi was polite and interested in what Morin had to say, but he remained focused on his role as the host. During dinner, Taye noticed that Morin seemed a bit nervous but also determined. She made an effort to engage Femi in conversation and laugh at his jokes. Femi, on the other hand, was polite but seemed more interested in making sure everyone was comfortable and enjoying the meal. After dinner, Taye and her friends moved to the living room to relax and chat. Morin stayed close to Femi, trying to find moments to talk with him privately. She laughed at his stories and tried to show her interest in his life. Femi, being his usual friendly self, was appreciative of Morin's company but didn't seem to realize the deeper feelings she had for him. Later that evening, as Morin and Taye were cleaning up the kitchen, Morin whispered to Taye, "I really tried my best to talk to Femi tonight. I hope I didn't come on too strong." Taye smiled and shook her head. "You did great, Morin. Just give it some time. Femi is a bit focused on his work right now, but he's a good guy. I'm sure he will notice how amazing you are eventually." Morin nodded, feeling both hopeful and anxious. "Thanks, Taye. I just hope he starts to see me the way I see him." Taye hugged her friend. "Don't worry. I'm sure things will work out. Just be yourself and let things happen naturally, okay?" Despite Taye's encouragement, Morin couldn't shake the feeling of frustration. She wanted so badly for Femi to notice her, but she didn't know how to make it happen. Every time she thought she was getting closer, she felt like she was taking 2 steps back. Morin began to feel conflicted. On one hand, she loved the idea of being with Femi and building a future together. On the other hand, she was worried about how it might affect her friendship with Taye. She didn't want to lose Taye's support or damage their close bond. As weeks went by, Morin continued to find ways to spend time with Femi, but he remained oblivious to her deeper feelings. He was focused on his work and taking care of Taye, and love was not something he was actively seeking. Morin's heart ached with the desire for Femi to notice her, but she tried to stay positive and patient. One afternoon, while Morin and Taye were working on a new jewelry design for Morin's business, Taye spoke up. "Morin, I know this is a bit personal, but I want you to know that I care about you a lot. If there is anything you need or if you ever want to talk about anything, I'm here for you." Morin looked at Taye with gratitude. "Thank you, Taye. That means a lot to me. I have been thinking a lot about what we have talked before, and I'm still not sure how to handle things with Femi." Taye reached out and squeezed Morin's hand. "Just remember to follow your heart. I want you to be happy, and I believe that everything will work out in the end." Morin smiled, feeling a little better. She knew that Taye's support meant the world to her. But as she continued to navigate her feelings for Femi, she realized that she needed to find a way to express her emotions without jeopardizing her friendship with Taye. Morin knew that she had to make a decision. She had to figure out whether she wanted to keep her feelings hidden or take a chance and risk everything for a chance at love. The future was uncertain, but Morin was determined to follow her heart and find a way to make things work, no matter what challenges lay ahead. Life continued smoothly for Femi and Taye. One day, at a big corporate event, Femi met a remarkable woman named Onuchukwu. She was beautiful and smart, with a friendly and confident manner. They talked for a long time and found they had a lot in common. Femi was impressed by Onuchukwu's independence, drive, and kindness. He felt a connection with her that he hadn't felt before. After a few more meetings, Femi realized he was really drawn to Onuchukwu. She was everything he admired in a woman. As their relationship grew, Femi started thinking about the possibility of having a serious relationship with her. Femi knew that introducing Onuchukwu to his sister Taye was an important step. He wanted Taye to meet her and hopefully give her approval. Femi was excited and hopeful that Taye would like Onuchukwu. He believed that his sister's opinion mattered a lot and wanted her to be happy with his choice. When the day came for Onuchukwu to meet Taye, Femi was nervous but optimistic. They all gathered at Femi and Taye's home for dinner. Onuchukwu arrived looking elegant and composed. She greeted Taye with a warm smile and complimented the lovely home. Taye, on the other hand, barely looked up from her book as she greeted Onuchukwu. Her usual friendly and welcoming demeanor seemed to vanish. She was polite but distant, and the conversation felt awkward. Femi noticed the change in Taye's behavior and felt uncomfortable. He had hoped for a warm and friendly reception, but instead, he sensed a coldness from his sister. He tried to keep the evening pleasant, but the tension was palpable. After dinner, Onuchukwu left, feeling unsure about how the evening had gone. That evening, after Onuchukwu had gone home, Taye confronted Femi with a serious expression. "Femi, we need to talk," she said. Femi looked concerned. "What's wrong, Taye? How did you feel about Onuchukwu?" Taye crossed her arms and looked at her brother. "I don't trust her, Femi. I think she's only interested in you because of your money." Femi's eyes widened in surprise. "What? Taye, that's not true. Onuchukwu is a wonderful person. She's smart and caring. Why do you think that?" Taye shook her head. "I can just tell. She was too eager to please, and she kept talking about your work and success. It felt like she was trying too hard." Femi felt hot and frustrated. "Taye, you don't know her like I do. I have spent a lot of time with her, and I'm sure she's not like that. You need to give her a chance." Taye's face was firm. "I don't want her around. I don't want you to get involved with someone who might be using you. I care about you too much to see you get hurt." Femi felt torn. He deeply cared for Onuchukwu and wanted to see where their relationship could go. But he also knew how much Taye's opinion meant to him. It was hard to choose between his growing feelings for Onuchukwu and his sister's disapproval. He took a deep breath and said, "Taye, I understand that you are concerned, but this is my decision. I really care about Onuchukwu, and I want to see where this relationship goes. I hope you can support me in this, even if you don't understand or agree." Taye looked sad. "I just don't want you to get hurt, Femi. I'm afraid that she's not what she seems." Femi nodded. "I appreciate your concern, Taye, but I need you to trust me. I know what I'm doing. I will be careful. But I need you to give Onuchukwu a chance. Please." Taye was silent for a moment, her eyes filled with worry. Finally, she sighed. "Okay, Femi, I will try to be open-minded, but if anything goes wrong, I'll be here to help you." Femi felt a mix of relief and sadness. He knew that Taye's approval was important to him, but he also knew he couldn't let her dictate his personal life. He hoped that over time, Taye would come to see what he saw in Onuchukwu. As days went by, Femi continued to see Onuchukwu, and their relationship grew stronger. They enjoyed each other's company and shared many happy moments. Femi was hopeful that Taye's feeling would change once she got to know Onuchukwu better. However, Taye's mistrust didn't fade easily. She watched from the sidelines, keeping a close eye on Onuchukwu's every move. She tried to hide her feelings, but her actions were often marked by subtle signs of disapproval. This created a tense atmosphere between Taye and Onuchukwu, making it difficult for them to build a genuine connection. Onuchukwu, though aware of the tension, remained gracious and tried to make the best of the situation. She continued to be friendly and polite, hoping that with time, Taye would come to see her true self. But the strain on her and Femi's relationship was evident. One day, Femi and Onuchukwu were out for a walk in the park, enjoying each other's company. They talked about their future and their dreams, feeling content in each other's presence. But as they walked, Femi couldn't help but worry about the ongoing tension with Taye. Onuchukwu noticed his pensive expression Is everything okay, Femi? You seem a bit worried. Femi sighed. It's just that my sister Taye is having a hard time accepting our relationship. I really wish she could see how special you are. Onuchukwu looked thoughtful. I understand, my love. It must be hard to balance your feelings for me with your loyalty to your sister. Femi nodded. Yes, it's a difficult situation, but I'm committed to making this work. I just hope that with time, Taye will come to accept us. Onuchukwu smiled gently. I believe that things will get better. We just need to be patient and continue to show her the good in our relationship. Femi smiled back, feeling a bit reassured. Thank you, Onuchukwu. Your support means a lot to me. As Femi and Onuchukwu relationship continued to grow, they faced the challenges that came their way. The tension with Taye remained, but Femi was determined to follow his heart while also trying to maintain his strong bond with his sister. The path ahead was uncertain, but Femi and Onuchukwu were ready to face it together, hoping that love and understanding would eventually prevail. As Femi and Onuchukwu's relationship grew stronger, Taye's feelings became more intense. She couldn't shake the belief that Onuchukwu was not right for her brother. The bond between Femi and Onuchukwu was becoming a source of great tension in Taye's life. Morin, who had been hiding her feelings for Femi, found out about Femi and Onuchukwu's relationship. Her reaction was full of jealousy and anger. She had always had feelings for Femi, and seeing him with someone else made her feel even more upset. Morin felt like Femi was slipping away from her, and she couldn't stand it. Morin decided to take drastic action. She approached Taye with a plan. Taye, Morin began, I have some problems with my current place. Could I stay with you for a while? Taye looked at Morin with concern. Of course, Morin. You are always welcome here. But what's going on? Why are you moving out? Morin hesitated before replying. It's just some issues with the landlord. I need a temporary place, but I have another reason too. I want to be closer to Femi and help you with the situation. Taye raised an eyebrow. What situation? Morin sighed. I feel like Onuchukwu isn't right for Femi. I think we need to do something to make her leave. Taye nodded slowly, understanding Morin's frustration. I have been worried about that too. Let's do it. If we can make Onuchukwu feel unwelcome, maybe she will leave Femi on her own. So, Morin moved in with Taye. They started to plan how they would make Onuchukwu's visit uncomfortable. When Onuchukwu came over again, things took a hostile turn. Onuchukwu arrived at Femi's house, ready to spend a pleasant afternoon with him, but instead, he found herself alone with Taye and Maureen. The atmosphere was cold and unwelcoming. Taye and Maureen exchanged glances before Taye spoke up. Onuchukwu, Taye said in a sharp tone, we need to talk. Onuchukwu looked surprised. What's wrong, Taye? I thought we were going to have a nice visit. Morin stepped in, her voice cold. We don't think you belong here. Femi is meant to be with someone who truly understands him, not just anyone who comes along. Onuchukwu's eyes widened in confusion. What are you talking about? I care about Femi deeply. I don't understand why you are being so hostile. Taye crossed her arms. You think you can just come into our lives and take Femi away? You have no place here. Femi is supposed to marry Morin, not you. Onuchukwu felt a lump in her throat. But Femi has never mentioned anything about marrying Morin. Why are you trying to push me away? Morin's voice was firm. Because Femi and I have a history. I have always been here for him. He doesn't need someone like you. The confrontation left Onuchukwu shaking. She tried to defend herself, but the hostility from Taye and Morin made it difficult. Feeling upset, Onuchukwu went into Femi's room and locked the door. When Femi returned home that evening, he found Onuchukwu waiting for him. Her face was pale and her eyes were red. She looked like she had been crying. Femi, Onuchukwu said softly, I need to talk to you. I had a really difficult time today. Femi's heart sank. What happened? Onuchukwu took a deep breath. Taye and Maureen were very rude to me. They said I don't belong with you and that you should be with Morin instead. I'm confused and hurt. Is there something going on with Morin that I don't know about? Femi's expression turned from shock to anger. Onuchukwu, I'm so sorry. There is nothing between Morin and me. She's my sister's friend, but I don't have any romantic feelings for her. Onuchukwu looked relieved but still upset. I'm glad to hear that, but why did they treat me this way? Femi sighed. Taye has been having a hard time accepting our relationship. She's been influenced by Maureen's feelings for me. I'm going to talk to her about this. I want you to know that I care about you and I want to be with you. Onuchukwu nodded, wiping away her tears. Thank you, Femi. I just want to understand what's going on. Femi decided it was time to confront Taye. He was hurt by her actions and knew that their relationship needed to be addressed. He went to Taye's room, where she was sitting on her bed, looking troubled. Taye, Femi said firmly, we need to talk. Taye looked up, her eyes filled with tension. What's the matter, Femi? Femi took a deep breath. I'm really disappointed with how you treated Onuchukwu today. She's a good person and she deserves to be treated with respect. Taye crossed her arms defensively. I'm just looking out for you, Femi. I don't think Onuchukwu is right for you. She seems like she's just after your money. Femi's face reddened with anger. That's not true. You don't know her like I do. I'm in love with her and I want to be with her. I don't want you to interfere in my personal life. I need you to accept my decision and support me. Taye's eyes filled with tears. But I've always been there for you, Femi. How can you just ignore Maureen's feelings? She's always been a part of your life. Femi's voice was steady but hot. Morin has feelings for me, but I don't share those feelings. I'm not going to let her dictate my choices. I have made my decision, and I need you to respect that. Taye's expression hardened. I don't know if I can accept this. If Onuchukwu is truly the right person for you, maybe I'll come around, but for now, I'm not sure if I can support this relationship. Femi felt a deep sadness. I understand that this is difficult for you, but I need you to trust me. I love Onuchukwu, and I want to build a future with her. I hope that with time, you will see how important she is to me. Soon, Femi proposed to Onuchukwu and they started their wedding preparations. Femi and Onuchukwu's wedding day was supposed to be the happiest day of their lives. The ceremony was beautiful, filled with colorful decorations, lively music, and the warm presence of family and friends. Femi stood tall in his suit, beaming with pride as he watched Onuchukwu walk down the aisle in her elegant white dress. As they exchanged their vows, promising to love and cherish each other forever, it seemed like nothing could go wrong. But underneath the smiles and joyful celebrations, a storm was brewing. Taye, Femi's sister, and Morin, the woman who had always hoped to marry Femi, were not happy. They watched the couple with forced smiles, their hearts filled with resentment. Taye still couldn't understand why her brother had chosen Onuchukwu, an Igbo woman, over Morin, who she believed was the perfect match for him. Morin, on the other hand, was consumed with jealousy, unable to accept that Femi was now married to someone else. After the wedding, Femi hoped that things would settle down. He believed that once Taye saw how happy he was with Onuchukwu, she would accept his wife and everything would be fine. But he was wrong. Instead of things getting better, they only got worse. Taye and Maureen decided to make Onuchukwu's life as difficult as possible. They started by playing small mean tricks on her. One day, while Onuchukwu was cooking dinner, Taye sneaked into the kitchen and secretly added too much salt to the stew. When they all sat down to eat, Femi took a bite and immediately made a face. "This stew is way too salty," he said, looking at Onuchukwu in surprise. Onuchukwu was shocked. "I don't understand," she said softly. "I tasted it before and it was fine." Morin, who was sitting quietly at the table, smiled but said nothing. Taye just shrugged, pretending to be concerned. "It's okay, Onuchukwu," Taye said, her voice dripping with fake kindness. "Maybe you were just distracted." Onuchukwu knew something was wrong, but she didn't say anything. She didn't want to cause any problems, especially not in front of Femi. As the days went by, the tricks got worse. One morning, Onuchukwu found her clothes scattered all over the bedroom floor. She knew she had folded them neatly the night before, so she was confused. When she asked Taye if she had seen anyone in the room, Taye just shook her head. "I have no idea what you are talking about," Taye said, not meeting Onuchukwu's eyes. Onuchukwu felt a knot forming in her stomach. She didn't want to believe that Taye would do something like this, but she couldn't shake the feeling that Taye and Morin were behind it. Despite everything, Onuchukwu tried to stay calm and hopeful. She loved Femi with all her heart, and she didn't want to give up on their marriage. She hoped that Femi would eventually see what was happening and put a stop to it. But as time went on, the stress of the situation began to weigh heavily on her. Onuchukwu found herself feeling more and more alone. She started to avoid spending time in the house when Taye and Maureen were around, choosing instead to stay out as long as possible. Femi noticed that something was wrong. He saw how tired and unhappy Onuchukwu looked, and he knew that things weren't right between his wife and his sister. But every time he tried to talk to Taye, she brushed him off. "Femi, you are overreacting," Taye would say. "There's nothing wrong. Onuchukwu just need to adjust to living here. It's not easy being in a new family." Femi wasn't convinced, but he didn't want to push too hard. He loved both Onuchukwu and Taye, and he didn't want to be forced to choose between them. He hoped that if he gave it time, things would improve. Then one day, Femi received news that he had to go on a business trip abroad. He was hesitant to leave Onuchukwu alone with Taye and Morin, but the trip was important for his job. Before he left, he put Onuchukwu aside. "Are you going to be okay while I'm gone?" Femi asked, looking into Onuchukwu's eyes with concern. Onuchukwu forced a smile. "I'll be fine, my love. Don't worry about me. Just focus on your trip." Femi kissed her forehead and left, but his heart was heavy with worry. As soon as Femi was out of the house, Taye and Morin saw their chance to make Onuchukwu's life even more miserable. They followed her everywhere, criticizing everything she did. "Why are you wearing that dress? It doesn't look good on you," Morin would say, her voice filled with disdain. "You can't even cook properly," Taye would add. "What kind of wife are you?" Onuchukwu tried to ignore them, but their words cut deep. She felt like she couldn't do anything right, and with Femi gone, she had no one to turn to. The final straw came when Taye and Morin cornered Onuchukwu in the living room one evening. "Listen, Onuchukwu," Taye said, her voice cold and sharp. "You need to leave. Femi was never meant to be with you. He belongs with Morin." Onuchukwu's eyes filled with tears. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I love Femi, and he loves me." "You are just an outsider," Morin snapped. "You don't belong here. The sooner you leave, the better." Onuchukwu couldn't take it anymore. She packed her bags that night and left the house, feeling completely defeated. She didn't know where she was going or what she would do, but she couldn't stay in a place where she was treated so badly. When Femi returned from his trip and found the house empty, he panicked. He searched everywhere for Onuchukwu, but she was nowhere to be found. Finally, he confronted Taye and Maureen. "Where is Onuchukwu?" Femi demanded, his voice filled with anger and fear. Taye crossed her arms and looked away. "She left, Femi. I told you she wasn't right for you." Femi's heart shattered. "How could you do this, Taye? She was my wife. You had no right to drive her away." She wasn't good enough for you, Femi, Morin said softly, trying to reach out to him. I was only trying to help. Help? Femi repeated, his voice rising. You have ruined everything. How could you be so cruel? Femi hurriedly took his phone. He tried calling Onuchukwu, but her number wasn't connecting. He tried several times, still not connecting. Then he ran out of the house and went to her former apartment, and she wasn't there. She called few of her friends, and they said she wasn't with them. He returned home sadly. Femi couldn't handle the pain. He turned to alcohol, hoping to numb the hurt that was tearing him apart. Every day, he drank more, sinking deeper into a pit of despair. The once happy man, who had been so full of life, was now a shadow of himself. As Femi's life spiraled out of control, Taye began to realize the gravity of what she had done. She had wanted to protect her brother, but instead, she had destroyed his happiness. Femi was in a bad place. Since Onuchukwu left, he couldn't stop thinking about how everything had gone wrong. He missed her so much, but he also felt betrayed by his own sister Taye and by Morin, the woman who had caused so much trouble. He spent his days drinking, trying to forget the pain. He couldn't understand how his life had fallen apart so quickly. One evening, as Femi sat on the couch, a bottle in hand, Morin and Taye exchanged a glance. They had been whispering and planning something that Morin was sure would make Femi hers forever. Taye wasn't so sure anymore, but she was too deep into the mess they had created to back out now. Femi, Morin said softly, sitting down next to him. You look so tired. Why don't you go to bed and get some rest? Femi looked at her through blurry eyes. He didn't trust Morin anymore, but he was too drunk and tired to argue. I just want to sleep, he muttered, rubbing his forehead. Taye helped him stand up, and they guided him to his room. Once Femi was lying down, Morin gave Taye a nod. Taye hesitated for a moment, but then she sighed and did as Morin had asked. They placed a few items around the room to make it look like something had happened between Femi and Morin. Morin then slipped into the bed beside Femi, a satisfied smile on her face. The next morning, Femi woke up with a pounding headache. He groaned as he sat up, trying to piece together what had happened the night before. But then he froze. He noticed a dress draped over the chair in the corner and a pair of shoes on the floor that didn't belong to him. He turned to his side and saw Morin lying next to him pretending to be asleep. What is this? Femi whispered to himself, panic rising in his chest. Morin slowly opened her eyes, stretching as if she had just woken up. Good morning, my love, she said sweetly, her eyes twinkling. Last night was incredible. Femi jumped out of bed, his heart racing. What are you talking about? He demanded, his voice shaking. What happened last night? Morin sat up and gave him a sly smile. Don't you remember? We were together, Femi, you and I. We spent the night together. Femi felt sick to the stomach. He couldn't remember anything, but he refused to believe what Morin was saying. No, this can't be true, he shouted. I would never do that. Morin stood up and walked towards him, her expression turning serious. But you did, Femi. You have always been mine, and now there's no going back. We are meant to be together. Femi shook his head, backing away from her. You are lying. You're trying to trick me. He turned to the door and stomped out of the room, looking for Taye. He found her in the kitchen making breakfast. Taye, Femi yelled, startling her. Did you know about this? Did you know what Morin was planning? Taye looked up, her face pale. Femi, I don't know what you are talking about, she stammered. But Femi could see the guilt in her eyes. Don't lie to me, Taye. Femi snapped, his anger boiling over. I can't believe you would do this to me. How could you let Morin manipulate you like this? How could you help her? Taye's eyes filled with tears. She hadn't expected things to go this far. And now she was realizing just how wrong she had been. "Femi, I'm so sorry," she whispered, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean for it to go this way. I thought I was helping you." "Helping me?" Femi repeated, his voice filled with disbelief. "You have destroyed my life. You have driven away the woman I love, and now you have let Morin trap me in this horrible lie. How could you, Taye?" Taye burst into tears, unable to hold back her guilt any longer. "I'm sorry, Femi. I'm so sorry. I was wrong. And now I don't know how to fix it. Please forgive me." Femi took a deep breath, trying to calm himself down. He knew that yelling at Taye wouldn't solve anything, but he couldn't just let this go. "You have made a huge mistake, Taye," he said, his voice steady but cold. "I can't trust you anymore. You have let Morin poison your mind, and now I have lost everything that mattered to me." Taye sobbed, covering her face with her hands. She had never seen Femi so angry, and it hurt her deeply to know that she was the cause of his pain. Meanwhile, Morin stood in the hallway listening to their conversation. She had expected Femi to accept what she had told him, but now she realized that he was much stronger than she had thought. He wasn't going to fall for her tricks so easily. Femi stormed back into his room, ignoring Morin, as she tried to speak to him. He needed to think. He couldn't let Morin and Taye get away with this, but first, he had to clear his mind and figure out a way to fix the mess they had created. For the next few days, Femi avoided both Taye and Morin. He spent most of his time at work or out of the house, trying to come up with a plan. He knew he couldn't stay in this toxic environment forever, but he also couldn't just walk away without setting things right. One evening, as he sat in his car outside the house, Femi finally came up with an idea. He wasn't going to let Morin and Taye control his life any longer. He would show them that he wasn't as weak as they thought, and he would find a way to get Onuchukwu back. The next morning, Femi went into the kitchen where Taye was preparing breakfast. Morin was sitting at the table sipping tea and looking smug as usual. But Femi was calm. He knew what he had to do. "Taye, Morin," Femi began, his voice firm. "I've made a decision. I'm leaving this house. I can't stay here any longer." Morin's smile faltered. "What do you mean, Femi? You can't leave. This is your home." "No, Morin," Femi said, shaking his head. "This is not my home anymore. This place is filled with lies and betrayal, and I can't live like this. I need to find Onuchukwu and make things right with her. I made a vow to love and protect her, and I'm going to keep that vow." Taye looked at Femi with tearful eyes. "Femi, please don't go. I'm sorry for everything I have done. I will make it right, I promise." Femi sighed. "Taye, I appreciate that you are sorry, but it's too late for that. You let Morin manipulate you, and now I have lost the woman I love. I can't forgive you for that, at least not right now. I need to focus on getting Onuchukwu back." Morin stood up, trying to stop him. "Femi, you don't have to go. We can start over. Just you and me. Forget about Onuchukwu. She's gone, but I'm still here." Femi looked at Morin with a cold stare. "Morin, I see you for who you really are now. You are nothing but a manipulator. I regret ever letting you into this house. I will never be with you. Now, get out of my way." Morin's face turned red with anger and embarrassment. She had never expected Femi to stand up to her like this. She watched helplessly as Femi walked out of the house, leaving her and Taye behind. Femi felt a sense of relief as he stepped outside. He knew that the road ahead wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to find Onuchukwu and fix the mistakes he had made. He had let his sister and Morin control him for too long, and now it was time to take control of his own life. As Femi drove away, he made a silent promise to himself. He would find Onuchukwu, and he would do whatever it took to win back her trust and love, no matter how long it took. He wouldn't give up on her, and as for Taye and Morin, they would have to live with the consequences of their actions. Femi was done with their games, and he was ready to start a new chapter in his life, a chapter that would be written on his own terms. After searching for Onuchukwu for several days, Femi felt lost. She blocked his numbers and doesn't return his messages. He went to her workplace and was told she doesn't work there anymore. Femi decided to return home. He went straight to Morin and told her he was ready to be with her. Morin was so happy and hugged him tightly, promising to be the best girlfriend and future wife ever. Taye was confused about her brother's change of mind. One day, Femi sat quietly in the corner of the living room, pretending to read a newspaper. He glanced over the top of the page, watching Morin, who was humming happily in the kitchen. She had no idea that Femi was only pretending to care about her. Femi had decided to play along with Morin's game, hoping to expose her true colors to everyone, especially to Taye. As Morin cooked dinner, she glanced back at Femi and smiled. "Femi, my love, dinner will be ready soon. I made your favorite dish today." Femi forced a smile. "Thank you, Morin. I'm sure it will be delicious." Inside, Femi felt nothing but disgust. He knew Morin was trying to win him over with sweet words and kind gestures, but he wasn't fooled. He had seen the way she treated Taye when she thought no one was watching. Taye, on the other hand, was no longer Morin's close friend. Since Morin believed she had won Femi's heart, she started treating Taye like she was less than nothing. Taye, who once thought she was in control, now found herself completely lost. One evening, while Taye was sitting in the living room, Morin walked in with a cold expression on her face. "Taye," she said sharply, "I don't want you in this house anymore." Taye looked up shocked. "What do you mean, Morin? This is my house." Morin sneered. "Your brother and I are getting married soon. I don't want you hanging around causing trouble. It's time for you to leave." Taye's heart sank. She had never seen Morin like this before. The friendly woman she once knew was now a monster. Taye looked at Femi, who was sitting quietly, not saying a word. "Femi," Taye pleaded, "please don't let her do this." Femi looked at his sister with cold eyes. "I'm going to marry Morin, Taye. You will have to find somewhere else to stay, if that's what she wants." Taye's eyes filled with tears. She had never felt so alone. She couldn't believe that Femi was siding with Morin, but deep down, she knew she was partly to blame. She had helped Morin, thinking it would make things better, but now everything was falling apart. As the days passed, Morin's behavior grew worse. She started locking Taye out of the kitchen, refusing to let her eat with them. "This food is for Femi and me," Morin would say, smirking. "You can find something else to eat." Taye was left hungry and humiliated, but there was nothing she could do. She had betrayed her brother, and now she was paying the price. One night, as Morin and Femi sat at the dinner table, Morin dropped a bombshell. "Femi, I have some exciting news," she said, her eyes shining. "I'm pregnant." Femi froze. He knew this was another one of Morin's lies, but he needed to keep calm. "Pregnant?" he asked, pretending to be surprised. "Are you sure?" Morin nodded eagerly. "Yes, my love. We are going to have a baby. Now, you have to marry me. We will be a perfect family." Femi's mind raced. He knew he couldn't let this lie continue. It was time to end this once and for all. "That's wonderful news," he said, forcing a smile. "We should celebrate." Morin beamed. "I knew you would be happy. We can tell everyone tomorrow." But Femi had other plans. The next day, he made a few phone calls, arranging for a special guest to visit the house. Later that afternoon, there was a knock on the door. Morin opened it, expecting one of her friends, but instead, he found herself face to face with the man she had been secretly seeing behind Femi's back. "Morin," the man said sternly, "we need to talk." Morin's face turned pale. "What are you doing here?" she hissed, glancing nervously at Femi and Taye, who were both watching from the living room. The man stepped inside, ignoring Morin's protest. "You told me you loved me," he said loudly. "But now you are here, lying to Femi and claiming to be pregnant with his child." Taye's eyes widened in shock as she looked at Morin, realizing the full extent of her friend's betrayal. Femi, on the other hand, remained calm. He had expected something like this. Morin tried to push the man out of the house. "Get out!" she yelled, panicking. "You are ruining everything." But the man wouldn't budge. "You have been lying to both of us, Morin," he said, shaking his head. "You don't deserve Femi or anyone else. I'm done with you." Femi stood up and walked over to Morin, his expression serious. "Is this true, Morin?" he asked quietly. "Have you been lying to me this whole time?" Morin's eyes darted around the room, looking for a way out, but there was none. She was trapped. "Femi, please, I can explain." Femi held up his hand, cutting her off. "There is nothing to explain. You have shown your true colors, Morin. I never trusted you, and now I see I was right." Taye, who had been silently crying, finally spoke. "Femi, I'm so sorry. I never should have helped Morin. I didn't know she was like this. Please forgive me." Femi turned to his sister, his expression softening a little. "Taye, I will always be your brother, but you need to learn from this. You can't just trust anyone who seems nice on the surface. People like Morin will take advantage of that." Taye nodded, wiping her tears. "I understand now, Femi. I'm so sorry." Femi looked back at Morin, who was still standing there, trembling with fear. "You need to leave, Morin," he said firmly. "I don't ever want to see you here again." Morin's face crumpled, and she started crying. "But Femi, I love you." Femi shook his head. "No, Morin. You love controlling people and getting what you want. That's not love. Now, get out." With no other choice, Morin gathered her things and left the house, slamming the door behind her. The house was quiet for a moment, and then Taye broke down into sobs, overwhelmed by everything that had happened. Femi walked over to his sister and put his arm around her. "It's okay, Taye," he said softly. "We will get through this, but from now on, we need to be honest with each other. No more secrets." Taye nodded, still crying. "I promise, Femi, I will never lie to you again." As Femi comforted his sister, he felt a sense of relief wash over him. The nightmare with Morin was finally over, and he could start to rebuild his life. But in the back of his mind, he knew he still had to find Onuchukwu and make things right with her. That was the next step on his journey to peace. Taye couldn't sleep that night after Morin left. The house was quiet, but her mind was racing. She thought about all the mistakes she had made, how she had let Morin come between her and Femi, and how she had hurt Onuchukwu, the woman her brother truly loved. Taye knew she couldn't undo what had happened, but she was determined to make things right. The next morning, Taye got dressed and went out, determined to find Onuchukwu. She started by going to Onuchukwu's workplace, a small boutique where she worked as a fashion designer. When Taye arrived, she was nervous, but she knew she had to do this. She asked one of Onuchukwu's co-workers, "Excuse me, have you seen Onuchukwu? I really need to talk to her." The co-worker, a kind woman named Ada, looked at Taye with concern. "Onuchukwu hasn't been in for a few days," Ada said. "She's been really upset lately. I don't know where she is, but you might want to check with some of her friends." Taye thanked Ada and left the boutique. Feeling even more worried, she started visiting the homes of their mutual friends, asking if anyone had seen Onuchukwu. Each time, she got the same answer: no one knew where Onuchukwu was. Taye's heart sank, but she refused to give up. She knew she had to find Onuchukwu no matter how long it took. Finally, after several days of searching, Taye got a tip from one of Onuchukwu's close friend, Amaka. "I saw her yesterday at the park near her old apartment," Amaka told Taye. "She looked really sad. Maybe she's still there." Taye thanked Amaka and rushed to the park. When she arrived, she saw Onuchukwu sitting alone on a bench, staring at the ground. Taye's heart ached when she saw her. Onuchukwu looked so sad and lost, and Taye knew it was partly her fault. Taye walked over to the bench, her hands trembling. When she reached Onuchukwu, She hesitated for a moment before dropping to her knees in front of her. Onuchukwu, Taye began, her voice choked with emotion. I'm so sorry. Please, please forgive me. Onuchukwu looked up surprised to see Taye. She didn't say anything at first, just watched as Taye's tears began to fall. Taye, Onuchukwu finally said, her voice soft but firm. What are you doing here? Taye wiped her tears with the back of her hands. I have been looking for you everywhere. I know I hurt you, Onuchukwu. I let Morin turn me against you, and I was so wrong. I was jealous and stupid, and I didn't see what was right in front of me. You didn't deserve any of the things I said or did. Onuchukwu listened quietly as Taye continued. I thought Morin was my friend, but she was just using me to get to Femi. I didn't realize how much pain I was causing until it was too late. I'm begging you, Onuchukwu, please forgive me. Taye's tears kept falling, and she looked so broken, so sincere, that Onuchukwu couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy. She had been so angry and hurt when she left Femi's house, but seeing Taye like this made her realize that holding onto her anger wouldn't make things better. It would only keep the pain alive. Onuchukwu took a deep breath and stood up, reaching out to help Taye to her feet. Taye, she said softly, I have been through a lot because of what happened, and it hurt me deeply. But I can see that you are truly sorry, and I don't want to carry this anger in my heart anymore. Taye looked at Onuchukwu with wide hopeful eyes. Does that mean you forgive me? She asked, her voice trembling. Onuchukwu nodded. Yes, Taye, I forgive you. It's not easy, and I know it's the right thing to do. We all make mistakes, and what matters is that we learn from it. Taye's eyes turned into tears of relief. She hugged Onuchukwu tightly, unable to believe that she had been forgiven. Thank you, Onu, she whispered. Thank you so much. I promise I will never do anything like this again. Onuchukwu patted Taye's back gently. I believe you, Taye. Let's put this behind us and move forward. After a moment, Taye pulled back and wiped her face. There is something else, Onu, she said hesitantly. Femi, he's miserable without you. He's been drinking and staying in his room all day. He misses you so much. Please, will you come back to him? Onuchukwu's heart ached at the thought of Femi suffering. She had loved Femi with all her heart, and even though she had left, that love had never truly faded. She had been so hurt and angry, but now, hearing Taye's words, she realized that she still wanted to be with him. Onuchukwu hesitated, then nodded slowly. I will go back, Taye. I still love Femi, and I want to make our marriage work. Taye's face lit up with a smile. Thank you, Onu. You don't know how much this means to me, to Femi. Let's go to the house together. The two women left the park and headed back to Femi's house. As they approached the front door, Taye's heart pounded in her chest. She didn't know what state Femi would be in, but she hoped that seeing Onuchukwu would bring him back to his old self. When they entered the house, the living room was quiet and empty. Taye called out, Femi, Femi, where are you? There was no answer, but then they heard a faint noise coming from Femi's room. Taye and Onuchukwu rushed down to the hallway and opened the door to find Femi lying on the bed, surrounded by empty bottles. He looked disturbed, his eyes closed as if he had been crying. Femi, Onuchukwu cried out, rushing to his side. Femi stared and slowly opened his eyes. When he saw Onuchukwu kneeling beside him, he blinked in disbelief. Onuchukwu, is it really you? He mumbled, his voice slurred from the alcohol. Onuchukwu gently lifted his head and helped him sit up. Yes, Femi, it's me. I'm here. Femi's eyes filled with tears as he realized she was truly there. He reached out and put her into a tight embrace, holding her as if he was afraid she might disappear. I'm so sorry, Onuchukwu, he whispered. I never should have let you go. I have been so lost without you. Onuchukwu hugged him back, tears streaming down her face as well. I forgive you, Femi, she said softly. I want to make our marriage work. Let's start over together. Taye watched them, her heart full of relief and gratitude. She knew It would take time for things to fully heal, but this was the first step. Femi and Onuchukwu were finally back together, and the darkness that had hung over their lives was beginning to lift. As the three of them sat together, Femi looked at Taye and said, "Thank you, Taye, for bringing Onuchukwu back to me. I know things haven't been easy, but I'm glad we are all here together." Taye smiled through her tears. "I'm just happy you are both okay. From now on, let's stick together as a family." And with that, the heavy cloud that had hung over their lives began to lift. They still had a long way to go, but for the first time in a long time, there was hope, and that was enough to start healing. With Onuchukwu back in his life, Femi was more determined than ever to make things right. He knew that the past couldn't be changed, but he wanted to build a future where trust and respect were the cornerstones of their relationship. One evening, Femi and Onuchukwu sat together, the soft glow of their living room lamp casting a warm light around them. Femi took Onuchukwu's hand and looked into her eyes with sincerity. "Onuchukwu," he said, his voice trembling slightly, "I know I've hurt you deeply. I'm so sorry for everything that happened. I let Morin and my own mistakes come between us, and I regret it more than words can say." Onuchukwu squeezed his hand, her eyes filled with compassion. "Femi, I know you are sorry, and I believe you. It's been a hard journey for both of us, but I want us to start afresh. Let's rebuild our trust and make our marriage stronger." Femi nodded, tears of relief shining in his eyes. "I promise to do everything I can to make things right. We have been through so much, but I want us to be happy again. We will work together and make our relationship stronger than ever." As they worked and rebuilt their marriage, Femi and Onuchukwu took small steps to reconnect. They spent quality time together, shared their dreams and fears, and learned to communicate better. They also sought the help of a counselor to guide them through the process of healing. With each passing day, their bond grew stronger. Meanwhile, Taye was also on a journey of self-discovery. After witnessing the pain her actions had caused, she realized she needed to make changes in her own life. She started focusing on her personal growth and finding new ways to improve herself. One day, Taye met a kind and understanding man named David. David was patient, supportive, and loved Taye for who she was. They began dating, and Taye felt a sense of happiness and contentment she hadn't experienced in a long time. "David," Taye said one evening as they sat in a cozy cafe, "I have been through so much, and I have learned a lot about myself. I'm grateful for your kindness and support." David smiled warmly at her. "Taye, I care about you deeply. I understand your past, and I am here to support you as you move forward. I believe in you and the person you have become." Taye's heart swelled with gratitude. She felt a sense of peace knowing she had found someone who understood her and accepted her for who she was. After a few years, Taye and David decided to get married. They moved abroad, where Taye started a new chapter in her life with her husband. The experience had changed her, making her wiser and more conscious in her relationships. She vowed to never let jealousy or insecurity control her actions again. Back at home, Femi and Onuchukwu were also moving forward. They focused on creating a loving and joyful home together. They celebrated special moments, shared laughter, and supported each other through their ups and downs. Their love for each other grew stronger as they walked through their life challenges together. One sunny afternoon, Femi and Onuchukwu were sitting in their porch, enjoying a cup of tea and the gentle breeze. "You know," Onuchukwu said with a smile, "I can't believe how far we have come. We have been through so much, but we have come out stronger on the other side." Femi nodded, his face glowing with happiness. "I agree. The challenges we faced only made our love stronger. We have learned to appreciate each other more and to value the life we have together." Onuchukwu reached out and touched Femi's hand. "I'm grateful for everything we have been through because it's brought us closer. We have built a beautiful life together, and I wouldn't trade it for anything." As the years passed, Femi and Onuchukwu continued to cherish each moment they had together. They created a home filled with love and laughter, and they enjoyed the simple pleasure of life. The past, with all its scars and wounds, was behind them, and the future looked bright. One day, Femi and Onuchukwu gathered with their friends and family for a special celebration. They were celebrating their wedding anniversary and the many years of happiness they had shared. The house was filled with joy and laughter as everyone came together to honor their love. During the celebration, Femi took a moment to address the guests. "Thank you all for being here today," he said with a warm smile. "This day means so much to us. We have faced many challenges, but we have come out stronger. Our love has grown, and we are grateful for the support of our friends and family." Onuchukwu stood beside him, holding his hand. "We have learned that love is not just about the good times, but also about how we face the hard times together. We are so thankful for everyone who has been part of our journey." As the evening went on, Femi and Onuchukwu danced together, their hearts filled with joy. They looked back on their journey with a sense of accomplishment and pride. They knew that they had overcome the trials of the past and had built a future full of hope and happiness. After years of waiting, they were finally blessed with twin babies, a boy and a girl. They called the boy Femi Ifeanyi Jr. and the girl Ayomide Chiamaka. Years later, as they looked back on everything they had been through, Femi and Onuchukwu realized that the trials had only made their love stronger. They had learned valuable lessons about trust, forgiveness, and the power of love. Their journey had been challenging, but it had brought them closer together and helped them build a life filled with happiness and contentment. With their heart full of gratitude and their love for each other unwavering, Femi and Onuchukwu knew that they had come through the storm stronger than ever. The past was behind them, and the future was theirs to embrace, filled with endless possibilities and the promise of a brighter and loving life together. In this story, Femi, Onuchukwu and Taye learned that it's important to always be honest and kind. When Taye and Maureen tried to hurt Onuchukwu and Femi, it made things very sad and confusing. But when Taye said sorry and worked hard to fix her mistakes, things started to get better. Femi and Onuchukwu learned that they could build a strong, happy life together if they forgave each other and stayed close. The story shows us that even when things go wrong, saying sorry and working together can make everything right again. Thank you so much for watching this amazing story about Femi and Taye on African Stories. If you liked it and felt inspired with your journey, please show your support by clicking the like button, sharing with your friends, and leaving a comment below. To see more interesting stories and learn about different cultures, subscribe to African Stories, and don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss a new story. Your support means a lot and helps us bring more stories to you. Until we meet again, stay connected, stay inspired, and keep smiling.